of heaven. These words which Jesus speaks to Peter after he has made his confession of faith, the faith that will care for the gathered and spread to the scattered, that Jesus is the Christ, the Messiah, the Son of the living God. As Thomas would come to profess, so that we may believe, my Lord and my God. This faith, as a response to the revelation of who Jesus is, has been conserved, guarded, handed down from one generation to the next through the apostles and their successors, led by the successor of Peter, the Pope. Remember that it was not flesh and blood that revealed this to Peter, but the Father, my Father, our Father in heaven. And here's where I take great joy and find hope in this time. Why I love being a part of the Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. We have a Pope, the successor of Peter, to unite us in our confession of faith and ensure that it's transmitted without error through the generations. In his first encyclical, Lumen Fidei, Pope Francis picks up where Pope Benedict left off by highlighting the importance of faith for us personally and how it enriches the culture around us. In it, he invites us to rediscover the light of faith in our lives and to allow it to illuminate our path, guiding us toward a deeper relationship with God and with one another. It comes from God, is a response to God. It has no end. We should never be comfortable where we are in our life of faith, in our Christian life. We should always desire to keep going and deeper with God. And so he encourages us to go deeper as believers. And then as we go deeper, to share that light of faith with the world, building a civilization of love and truth. But how are we to share the light of faith in order to build that civilization of love and truth? Pope Francis answers this question for us in Evangelii Gaudium, the apostolic exhortation, the joy of the gospel. This apostolic exhortation, he would later explain, is the interpretive key, the lens to which we are to read his papacy, to which we are to receive his ministry. Here he explains the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ, that he died and rose again. He defeated our enemies, sin, death, and Satan. He has rescued us from their dominion. He has a victory. He holds the keys of death, no longer holding us, no longer binding us. And that should bring joy into our lives, that joy that should fill our hearts and our lives for all who encounter the risen Lord, to be overwhelmed, overcome with paschal joy. This joy is not just for those who have responded with faith, the believer, but is meant to be shared with everyone. So Francis invites us to become joyful, courageous, and compassionate witnesses to the love and mercy of God, the love and mercy that never ends, that endures forever. This invitation is an echo of what Jesus said to the apostles in the upper room on the day of the resurrection. He comes to be with them. He greets them with shalom, peace. He breathes on them the Holy Spirit, giving life to the church with the power to forgive sins, actually forgiven. And then he commissions them, as the Father has sent me, so I send you. From the beginnings of the church, we have been invited to be missionary disciples, sharing our faith through word and action with joy, bringing shalom, the peace of Christ, to everyone. And with this renewed missionary transformation in the church, especially in our times, hopefully with the conversion of our own heart to become missionary disciples, what will we find when we go out? Our faith is not meant just for us. It's meant to be spread. We're not just to stay in these four walls. We're supposed to bring it to others. But what do we find when we go out and bring the faith to others? As Pope Francis experienced and so teaches, as many missionaries have gone out and now explain, as we see in the first reading from the Acts of the Apostles, from the beginnings of the church, we find a people broken, wounded, isolated, and alone. And the image of the church that Pope Francis gave to us, which has been ingrained into my mind, is that it is a field hospital. Think of the line from the Acts of the Apostles. They were bringing them out on stretchers, and the shadow of Peter being cast for them to be healed. It should bring to mind hospital, where people are healed, where people are brought back to life. And so when we go out and proclaim the good news, the gospel with joy, we are instruments of God's mercy in the world, meeting both the physical and spiritual needs of our brothers and sisters with the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. If the church is a field hospital, then mercy is the medicine that can heal our wounded world. But what is mercy? Again, in our time, the word often used but so often misunderstood. When we think of mercy killing, is not what God intended and is not what mercy is. In Misericordia et Misera, Pope Francis reminds us that mercy is God's loving response to our brokenness. The gospel that we heard has Jesus show his hands, his feet, and side, his sacred wounds, saying, "This is the cost of sin and brokenness. But see, I open my side, and the ocean of mercy for the whole world is for us, flows poured out for us." For us to become the face of the Father's mercy in imitation of Christ, so that our work as missionary disciples, missionaries of mercy, may build a civilization of love and truth, then we also need to know the mercy of God in our life. We cannot give what we have not received. And so we receive that mercy in the sacrament of confession, where our sin meets the Father's love for us, and there our hearts forgiven. If we are to allow the testament of Pope Francis to remain alive in our hearts, then we should take heed of his advice to get to confession. And here I quote, "We need this. For every interior rebirth, every spiritual renewal starts there, from God's forgiveness. May we not neglect reconciliation, but rediscover it as the sacrament of joy." That is the heart of confession. On this Divine Mercy Sunday, through the ministry of Pope Francis, we are given a day to reflect deeply on what mercy truly means and how we are called to embody it in our own lives. But this is not just one day. It is an invitation to a life of life-giving mercy every day, to go out of ourselves into the world as instruments of God's healing love, of his unfathomable mercy.